Imagine a little girl. She's 10 years old. She's wearing her favorite pink sweater, holding her favorite stuffed animal, Curious George. She's standing right by the window looking outside where she normally plays with her friends. All of a sudden, she sees sparks and hears gunshots. Her mother runs into the room saying, "Honey, you know better than to stand by the window." And then her father comes in saying it's time to go. Her and her family grab all their bags and they rush outside and they're piling into the car. It's her two little sisters, her mom and dad, and her grandmother. It's in the middle of the night and it's really dark. She's pretty frightened because she has no idea where they are going. That little girl that I just described was me when I was 10 years old. What I didn't know at that time was I was never going to see my home again. You see, at that time, we lived in Iran, the country was at war, and my family was under attack by the government. My dad's business partner was just assassinated. It was a really scary time. If it wasn't for my dad that night, I don't know if I would be here standing in front of you today sharing my story. My dad is my hero. Sharing a picture of us at the very beginning of the revolution, I was almost 2 years old. And I look back to that time and I think, wow, how hard it must have been for my family to have to get rid of everything they knew that was near and dear to them and leave it all behind to start all over. My dad at that time had built his life. He was a banker. He had a couple of businesses that were thriving and everything seemed really comfortable and on the right track. And then the revolution happened. He had to, at that point, sell everything he could and make that decision and liquidate, get his hand on what he could get his hands on to pay the smugglers to get us out that night. I remember that night as if it was yesterday. We drove for hours, and the next night I went to sleep at a stranger's house in Pakistan. It took us a couple of months, but we finally arrived to our final destination, New York. To be exact, JFK, the terminal. At that time, there was no TSA, and they really didn't know what to do with you when you came under asylum. So if you recall the movie called, or if you've seen it, called The Terminal with Tom Hanks, where his country was at war and he had to stay at the terminal, that's exactly what happened to us. We had to stay at the terminal. We lived there for about a couple of weeks, and then they finally let us go. I watched my dad have $2,000 in his pocket, an entire family to support. Because remember, it was me, my two little sisters, my mom and dad, and he even had brought his mother-in-law, my grandmother. He's a pretty good guy. And with that $2,000, he had to rebuild everything. He worked really hard during daytime and do a lot of blue-collar jobs and never complained. And at night, he went to school and got his degrees back to be able to do accounting, which was his profession. So proud of my family. Watching them go through that is what drives me every day to do what I do. I saw the importance of money, seeing that if it wasn't for the fact that my dad had built his life there, maybe we wouldn't have had the money to pay the smugglers to get us out. And then seeing him rebuild everything and watching their sacrifice so their family can have a better life is what makes me work as hard as I do to make sure that you, who had your own sacrifices and whatever you had to go get through to be where you are today. What I'm passionate about is making sure people just like you retire comfortably and build their financial life in a successful manner so they're able to enjoy the fruits of their labor. I understand sacrifices and I understand the importance of money and the importance of family values and how important it is to be independent and take care of those that we love. I learned at a very young age one key ingredient to be successful is to take action. To see my dad at that age, at that time, rebuild and take action to start all over again, I don't know. That's pretty tough. Could I have done that myself? And that's what I've seen is the most important thing. And that's what I want for you today, to take action, to do what's right for you and your family, no matter how tough you think it is. You can do it.